Before we name anything, just watch the weld. The gun is not painting a line on top of the steel. It is feeding new metal into a tiny liquid puddle, shielding that puddle from air and using an electrical arc to keep the whole point hot enough to fuse. That is the first big idea in MIG welding. The bright spot is not just a flame, it is a controlled transfer point. Wire comes forward, gas surrounds it, current jumps through it. The hand moves the gun, and the metal that remains behind is a record of whether those things were balanced. MIG stands for metal inert gas. In many shops you will also hear GMAW, gas metal arc welding. The names point to the same machine. A consumable wire electrode is pushed through the torch, an external gas shield protects the molten metal, and a power source drives current through the wire and workpiece. Now label the machine. At the back is the spool, the stored filler metal. Drive rollers grip that wire and push it forward at a steady speed. The wire travels through the torch and passes the contact tube. The contact tube is important because it transfers electrical current into the moving wire. Around it sits the gas nozzle. The nozzle does not melt the steel. It shapes a cloud of shielding gas around the arc and puddle. That difference matters. The wire is not just filler. In MIG, the wire is also the electrode. It carries current, melts at the tip, crosses the arc in tiny transfers, and becomes part of the joint. That is why wire feed speed is not just a speed control. It changes how much metal the machine is trying to deliver into the pool every second. The other half of the electrical path is the work clamp, sometimes casually called the ground clamp. It is not decoration. The power source, the wire, the arc, the workpiece, and the return lead form a closed circuit. If that circuit is not complete before the arc starts, the machine cannot weld properly. The power source controls the electrical conditions that make the arc stable. On many MIG machines, voltage strongly affects arc length and wetting behavior, while wire feed speed strongly affects current and deposition rate. The exact machine may present those controls differently, but the idea is the same. Heat and filler have to agree. Now slow it down. 3 flows arrive at one small point. First, the wire feed sets how much filler metal is available. More wire generally means more deposition, but only if the heat can melt it. Second, shielding gas pushes air away. Oxygen and nitrogen are useful in the atmosphere, but inside a fresh weld pool they can create porosity, oxidation, and weak, dirty metal. Third, current creates the arc. The arc melts the end of the wire and the surface of the base metal at the same time. Shielding gas is easy to underestimate because it is mostly invisible in real life, but the gas shape is part of the weld. Too little flow, a blocked nozzle, a draft across the work, or the wrong torch angle can let air reach the pool. The result may not look dramatic while you are welding, but the finished bead can hide pores and contamination. That molten pool is the real center of the process. The torch does not drag a solid bead into place. It keeps a puddle alive, moves it forward, and lets the back of the puddle freeze into weld metal. The stack of dimes pattern is not magic. It is the cooled edge of a moving liquid pool. This is why bead shape teaches you so much. If travel is too slow, the puddle grows wide and heavy. If travel is too fast, the bead becomes narrow, cold-looking, and poorly tied in. If stickout is too long, the wire loses useful heat before it reaches the arc. If the angle is careless, the gas shield and pool no longer point at the same place. Stickout is the short length of wire between the contact tip and the arc. It looks like a small detail, but it changes resistance, heating, and arc behavior. A consistent stickout helps the machine behave consistently. A wandering stickout makes the puddle change even if your hand speed feels the same. Travel angle is another quiet control. In this visual, the torch lanes into the direction of travel, while the bead freezes behind it as angled ovals. A push angle can help keep the gas and arc aimed into the front of the pool. Too much angle, however, spreads heat and shield in the wrong direction. The goal is not a pose. The goal is a stable pool. A clean pass is disciplined. The torch angle is deliberate. The contact tip stays close enough to maintain a stable arc. The travel speed is steady. Each oval dime overlaps the last at a steep, consistent angle because the pool advances and freezes rhythmically behind the contact point. Good welders are not staring at the bright arc alone. They are reading the edge of the puddle. Is the front of the pool wetting into the base metal? Is the bead tying in at both toes? Is the sound steady? Is the wire burning back or piling in? Those clues tell you whether the hidden system is balanced. Now watch the full system again. The return path is already connected. The wire feeds before ignition. Gas is already moving when the arc begins. Current closes the loop. The pool forms, the gun travels, and the bead is left behind on the side the torch came from. That is MIG welding in first principles. Not a flame, not a glue line, and not just heat. It is wire, gas, current, puddle, and travel, synchronized tightly enough that two separate pieces of metal cool into one joint.